Jinendra and Pranam to everyone. A very warm welcome to the Jainism class for beginners. 2 weeks ago, we had the introduction session by Dr. Ajit Bhai, and that was purely an intro on what's going to happen over the next few months. Today is formally the very first class of teaching. We very much look forward to giving to you different speakers throughout this coming year. And today, I'm absolutely delighted to welcome Dr. Vinod Bhai Kapasi, OBE, a dear friend, as well as actually a renowned Jain scholar in the UK. He's written many books over the last few years, and I'm sure all of you have heard of Vinod Bhai Kapasi, founder of Mahavir Foundation in Harrow, as well as holding many other official posts, but has done a huge amount for the Jain community. Today's topic is talking about the origins and basic principles of Jain Dharma. So without further ado, I'm going to hand over to Vinod Bhai Kapasi. All of you, if you have your pens, notebooks ready, and this is a fascinating class, so I would urge you to take any notes for yourself. Thank you. Vinod Bhai, if you unmute. Okay.
Yeah. Jai Jinendra and Pranam to you all. I'm very happy to come here in front of you via Zoom, of course, and we'll share something, we'll learn something today, and especially our topic is the origin of Jainism, history of Jainism, and the basic philosophy. So let's begin. History of Jainism. When we talk about history, we cannot place or put a date on something. I can say, of course, I was born on such and such a date in that year. India got independence on 15th August 1947. And so many other dates. We know all these things. But can we put a date on? Can we say when Jainism started? There's no date actually. No one knows. All we can do is we go by our scriptures, the books of other religions, whatever is available in terms of architecture, pottery, anything. Then we can deduce few things. We can get opinions from academicians, scholars, and our acharyas. And then we can come to some sort of conclusion that, of course, Jainism started in such period. So, when we talk about the time frame, we'll have to go back some 5,000, 6,000 years ago. People who were living in North India, especially where the river Ganga is, Ganges plains. They were religious people in many ways, peace-loving peoples, believed in the philosophy of non-violence. But there was no dogmatic religion. There was no such thing as Hinduism as we call it, or Jainism as we know now. There were just different schools of thoughts. And we know there are no means of communications. People believing in something in, say, North London didn't know what the people living in South London believe. No communication. The only communication was via foot, horse cars, elephants, and everything. No postal system, no computers, mobile phone, absolutely nothing. So when I say that people believed in the philosophy of ahimsa, they had different ideas of ahimsa. People who came to India from, say, south of Russia and other places, they also brought their own ideology. People who were already living in India, they had their own ideas, own ideology, own set of principles, but plus the new arrivals, those who came afterwards, they brought their own ideas. And the mixture of all these things gave us a completely different set of ideas and principles. It is said that many people believe in rituals. If you read the Hindu holy book, the first Veda, Rig Veda, believed in worship of sun and worshiping of Gayatri. Of course, in Egypt also the same thing was there. Then they started believing other natural forces, wind, rain, Indra, Prajapati, the one who created the universe, Brahma, the one who sustains the universe, Vishnu, the one who destroys everything so that everything can begin again. That's Sankara, Shiva. This philosophy was there. And they were performing yagnas to please all those gods, devas, devis, all those. And they had a certain idea of doing work and classifying people. That gave rise to what we call caste system. There was hierarchy of people. Priestly caste, Brahmins, then business people, and those who were doing bartering and other things, Vaishya, Vanika, then warrior class, Kshatriya, and then all those manual workers. They were Shuddha, lowest. So these two things were very distinct. Performance of yagnas and the caste system. Now this performing yagna means offering something in the yagna, in sacrificial fire. And what they used to sacrifice? Not just grains or rice, but sometimes they used to sacrifice animals, even horses. Because in one of the incident in Ramayana, you will notice that the horse was going to be sacrificed in the yagna. But then there were another set of people. They talked about non-violence. And when they talked about non-violence, they started taking these philosophy further and further and further, as far as logic can take it. They said, of course, we can talk about non-violence, ahimsa, but we are talking about human beings only. What about animals? Then somebody says, what about plants? Vegetable kingdom? What about small insects and everything? And then some scholar says, not just killing, harming, That is also the breach of the philosophy of ahimsa. Then harming, not just physical harming, mental harming, thinking about harming something. All these are himsa, non-violence, hinsa, violence. So there are two distinct schools of thoughts. On one side, sacrificing in yagna, caste system, and other ideas. And other side, on another side, philosophy of ahimsa, very minute, encompassing, including all smallest living beings as well. The first philosophy said that the universe has been created by Almighty God. They believed in the Creator God. This new philosophy said, no, there is no Creator. Everything has happened automatically. Anadi, Ananta. No beginning, no end, so to speak. And even if there is an end, something new will come out of it. That was the ideology. So, out of these two main differences, we got two different religions. The first philosophy gave us Hinduism, very beautiful religion. And the second ideology gave us Jainism and Buddhism. So, very briefly, that's how it started. It might have taken hundreds and hundreds of years. Then our acharyas and other scholars just gave us rules and regulations. As for example, when we talk about not committing any violence, they would say that, oh, we'll have to form rules and regulations about what to eat and what not to eat, like root vegetables and everything. We must formulate rules about when to eat, like on certain holidays, we should not commit or we should not consume few things. Or after sunset, we must stop eating because these are all violent measures. Himsa. So then gradually everything started, all minute rules and regulations started. Jains also believe in one more thing. When we talk about history, Jains believe in the Kal Chakra, time cycle. You know, we say that history repeats itself. Similarly, Kal Chakra, the time cycle, is like a clock. And to go round from the top to bottom and bottom to top takes millions or perhaps billions of years. Then everything gets destroyed and everything starts again. So this Kal Chakra is a chakra, wheel. And that wheel has been divided into 12 parts, like our ordinary clock. Imagine you are at 12 o'clock and the hand goes from 12 to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That means it's coming down from 12 to 6. Jains say that that is called Avasarpini Kal, descending period. And what happens in clock? From 6 it goes to 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. That is Avasarpini, Utsarpini. So that's how the name have been given. Descending cycle, ascending cycle. So what happens in these different periods? 6 parts on this side, 6 on that side. So say from 12 to 1, they are not exact parts, mind you. It's the period of most happiness, happiness everywhere. Then happiness decreases slightly. Then some misery creeps in. Then misery increases. Misery, unhappiness increases so much that happiness disappears. And then there is a sheer misery, sheer unhappiness. So these 6 parts are there. That's Jain way of looking at our history. Then again, everything starts climbing, rising, getting better. Everything starts getting better. Like hand in our clock, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So again, the misery, the unhappiness, and all bad things gradually disappears. And by the time it comes to 12, again, there is a happy period. So that's how Jains believe in history. But why I am mentioning this? Because in fourth phase, all the Tirthankars are born. All the Tirthankars do exist in that fourth phase. This one we are living is called fifth phase. In Gujarati or original language, they call it Panchmo Aro. So it's a difficult period. It's a period of unhappiness, not sheer unhappiness, not total unhappiness, but unhappiness. So this is a fifth phase. The sixth is yet to come. Imagine it will be unhappiness, misery, dukh, nothing but dukh. But that is yet to come. And not to worry right now, there are more than 20,000 years to go before that period comes. Right now, we are in the fifth phase only. But in fifth phase, no Tirthankar is born because circumstances are different, ideas are different, people behave different in different manner. Niti, the honesty, and other things of values are going down. So no Tirthankar is born in the fifth phase. That's the Jain view, how the history has started, how everything has started. And I also mentioned academic view, how people think about, how scholars think about. In one thing, we are unlucky. We haven't found many buildings in excavations, not many pieces of pottery. Very few to go about. Some rock addicts, rock carving, where they have written something on rocks. Some coins have been found. You might have heard 2 distinct Indus Valley civilizations, 2 main cities, Harappa and Mohenjo-daro. Of course, more cities have been excavated now. One is in Kutch called Dhoravira, and there are many more right now, small ones. So they discovered few seals like coins, and on those coins there's a figure of an ascetic sitting in lotus posture. And there's a bull sitting next to this ascetic. So some historians believe that this is Rishabhdev Bhagwan, the very first Tirthankar. Rishabhdev Bhagwan. Because as you know, Rishabhdev Bhagwan was meditating. His lanchan, his identifying symbol, his bull, Vrushava. That's why he's called Rishabhdev Bhagwan. Vrushava means bull. So they said Jainism did exist in pre-Indus Valley civilization. But some Hindus say that no, this is Lord Shiva, Shankar Bhagwan, because Lord Shiva was also meditating in Himalayas and he had a bull, Vrushava, ox, always next to him. So it's difficult to say, but at least we can say that there are two different opinions. And Rishabhdev Bhagwan, the very first Tirthankar, as per our books, as per our scholars' views, he existed thousands and thousands and thousands of years ago. He was the first wise man. I'm using the word wise, just a simplifying thing. He was the first wise man who taught mankind how to cultivate, to grow things, how to read, how to write, and how to cook even. Pashi, Masi, and Krushi. Three things he taught. Pasi is weaponry, using knife, other thing, axe, even to get food and go out and using all these things, or cutting vegetables maybe. Pasi is weaponry. Masi, Masi means kalam, pen. He taught us how to write, how to read, and all these things, educational activities. And not only that, arts and crafts too. And then Krushi is agriculture. He taught agriculture. And not only that, cooking. Cooking means he taught us how to use fire to cook things. So that first Tirthankar taught us all these things, Asi, Masi, and Krushi. We believe in 24 Tirthankaras. As I said, in fourth phase, 24 Tirthankaras existed. First one was Rishabhdev. There are many stories, and one important thing, Rishabhdev's name appears in many Hindu scriptures and Purans. So we can say that we can see cross references, Jain books, Hindu books, all sorts of books. His name is there. So we can conclude, we can rightly believe that Rishabhdev did exist. It's not just an imaginary person in the book, means, because they all have mentioned his name. And I said 24 Tirthankaras. Who are the other Tirthankaras? We are not going to mention all those 24. But let me say about 2 or 3 more. Our last Tirthankar, Mahavir Swami. Now, historical figure. if you read about his dates when he was born and when he died. Died, this word I am using it just to simplify it. We don't usually mention, say, died, attain nirvana. So if you read all these things, then scholars have concluded by reading books from various sources, by reading about kings during that time, other kingdoms nearby, and Jain books and Buddhist books and everything, we have come to conclusion that last Tirthankar Mahavir Swami was born in 599 BC. And our scripture says that he lived for 72 years. That means he died in 527 BC. So these dates are fixed in the sense that now we all believe in these dates. There are not many arguments about this thing. So 599 BC, 527 BC, because so many references are available. Even Buddhist books have mentioned about Jains and Ajivaka Sampradaya and Jain holy men. So that's a historical figure. And we know about his life from Kalpa Sutra and other books. But in Kalpa Sutra, there is one more thing it says, that before Mahavir Swami was born, that is 250 years before Mahavir Swami, there was a Tirthankar called Parshvanath. So we can rightly believe and conclude that no, Parshvanath was also an historical figure, was 23rd Tirthankar. Then what about one before Parshvanath? 22nd Tirthankar. That's Neminath Bhagwan. Now Neminath Bhagwan, 22nd Tirthankar, his name is again written in various Hindu scriptures. And it is said that Neminath Bhagwan was cousin brother of Bhagwan Krishna. And there are many stories in Jain books about Bhagwan Krishna and Neminath Bhagwan. Very, very interesting stories. So all these things lead us to believe that Jainism started in such and such period. It's a gradual development of ideas, philosophies, and sets of rules and regulations. Okay, right. So we mentioned about the main principle, ahimsa, non-violence. It's not that ahimsa is not in Hinduism. It's not that ahimsa is not in Buddhism. Even Mahabharata, the Hindu holy book, it says we'll answer those afterward. Right? So, ahimsa is in Hinduism, ahimsa is in Buddhism, and ahimsa is in Jainism. But there are differences. How you interpret, how you formulate your set of rules and regulations, to what extent you go in observing ahimsa. In Mahabharata, it says ahimsa parmo dharma. Non-violence is the supreme religion. We use this phrase in Jainism too. Because which religion is supreme religion? Non-violence is the supreme religion. But as I mentioned, Jain ahimsa, you can call it, it's very strict. very strict rules and regulations, code of conduct, everything. Because Jainism says that no violence means no violence. No harm, no physical harm, no mental harm. Not only that, Jains have gone again one step further. Not to harm anyone, not asking anyone to harm anybody else, not asking for harming someone, and not approving of other person's act, harmful act. કરવું, કરાવવું, અનુમોદન આપવું. Understand? કરવું, you do it. કરાવવું means you ask others to do it. And અનુમોદન આપવું means you just approve of other person's bad act or harmful act or hinsa, act of hinsa. So Jains are very strict in everything. As I say, what to eat, what not to eat, when you eat, when you do not eat, all these things. That's the difference. Hindus believe in Himsa, non-violence, but their non-violence is slightly different. Buddhists believe in non-violence, but not to this extent. They are not very strict as Jains are. So these are, in our history, everything started developing. Maybe our original scriptures do not mention all these things, not in that much detail. But over the period of time, our monks and nuns, our acharyas, head of the things, they started formulating all the rules and regulations. Now in history, you might ask one thing. Here we have got Shvetambars, Digambars, Deravasis, Sthanakvasis. Because when you want to know about history, you must know something about this as well. Mahavir Swami, it is said that he had one piece of cloth when he was wandering in the jungle, meditating, going without food for days and days, or sometimes for months. He had that one piece of cloth, Devdushya. But accidentally, that piece of cloth was lost because it caught in something in the thorn, and it just came off. Mahavir Swami did not bother to take it back. Now remember, this small incident gave rise to various interpretations. A group of people say that Mahavir Swami did use clothes. Other group of people say that no. Ultimately, he gave up everything, even the clothes, and went about sky-clad, naked. Again, the both sides got stronger and stronger. One believed in these things, and the other believed in the other things. Those who believed in wearing clothes are Shvetambars. Shvet means white, ambar means clothing or sky. And the other people, Digambar, sky-clad. That division became watertight, it is said, in about AD 80, year 80. Again, there is no proper and accurate record, but we can deduce by reading other books and lives of other monks. We can deduce that all right, he was a Shvetambar monk propagating Shvetambar philosophy, and that Acharya was a Digambar monk. Digambars went to South India. Maybe there were differences. There was another reason. There was a big famine in North India. And one great Acharya Bhadrabahu Swami chose to go to South India and propagate Jainism there. And one king also, Chandragupta Maurya, went him. He became Jain. So in South India, the Digambar philosophy spread like anything. There was a golden period of Digambar philosophy in South India at one stage. And the Shwetambar philosophy spread in North India, Rajasthan, Gujarat, Maharashtra, Madhya Pradesh, basically Central India and North India. That's where Shwetambar philosophy flourished. So this is basically the divisions happened in our history. And again, out of Shwetambar period, during the Mughal time, some set of monks, because of the influence of one gentleman called Loka Shah, started believing that you do not need temples, you do not need idol, murti to attain moksha. It's not necessary. So they started rejecting idol worship and temple building and other things. They are called Sthanakvasi. Sthanak is a place, upasre, no temple. So again from Shwetambar, two different ideologies or two different sects were formed. Shwetambar Murti Pujak, those who believe in idols, murtis, temples, other things, and Shwetambar, but Sthanakvasi. Majority of Jains in India and here and America and everywhere are Shwetambar Murti Pujak Jains. We have temples. I myself is Shwetambar Murti Pujak Jain. We have temples. We worship Murti. We go and worship there and do all sorts of rituals like Shnatra Puja and all these things. So basically, that's the difference. And that's how the Jain history has started or developed or anything. And of course, Jain history is very interesting. I got one book. It has 1,000 pages. It's in Gujarati. The name of the book, the title of the book says that Brief History of Jainism. Brief history. Everything is written very briefly. And how many pages are there? 1,000. Because our literature is so rich. Lives of our monks, some of the acharyas, so interesting, inspiring, and everything that it's really, we are grateful to this, our ancestors, that they gave us all these things. And books, thousands and thousands and thousands of books. Hundreds of thousands of books have been preserved in India, and few thousand books have been preserved in the UK. So, heritage, very literary, very rich heritage, not just in terms of writing, arts, crafts, everything. Right. So what I'll do, I was not reading all the questions while I was talking about. I'm sure there are quite a few questions.
Vinod bhai, you continue, then we'll ask the question towards the end. You've got another 5-10 minutes, Aji.
Sure, yeah. Yeah. So as I mentioned, we got Swetambars, Digambars. Murti Pujak, that means Deravasi and Murti Pujak is identical word, same meaning. And Sthanakvasi, those who do not believe in. At one time, these divisions were very watertight, and I'm sorry to say that people even started hating each other. But fortunately, uh, that has gone more or less. It has been wiped out. All these things. Thanakasis also go to Jain temples. Digambars and Svetambars mix very well because we are all Mahavir Swami's Santan. We are all the followers of Mahavir Swami's ideology. Now, our title, today's lecture's title also says some basic principles. Let me say one interesting thing. You are most probably performing yoga or some sort of aerobics and everything. Now, yoga is not just a physical exercise, it's a holistic thing. It's for well being of our physique, our health, it's for our mental status, and for our spiritual well being. So, it involves physical, mental, and spiritual upliftment. That is yoga. The original yoga by Patanjali has got 8 steps. And the first step is called Yama. That book was written more than 5,000 years ago in Sanskrit. Now, why I am mentioning this yoga in between all these things? Because I said first step in yoga, before you want to start learning yoga, do anything, the first step is called Yama. Yama means you have to observe certain rules and regulations. You have to follow certain principles. You have to follow 5 principles as per Patanjali, the one who started yoga worldwide and whose yoga we are still following. Which are these 5 things, 5 principles? Ahimsa, Satya, Achaurya, Brahmacharya, Aparigraha. Ahimsa means non-violence. Satya means truth. Achaurya means non-stealing. Brahmacharya means celibacy, being faithful to one's own wife or husband. And aparigraha is non-possessiveness, non-acquisition. These 5 things are mentioned before you do start learning yoga or before you do yoga. Because I said it's not just physical exercise. You have to do this first and then think about doing yoga. Right. Interesting thing. All these 5 principles are the first basic principles of the Jain religion. Perhaps you know that. These are the Panch Mahavrata or Anuvrata. These are the 5 basic vows of Jainism. Isn't it interesting that these 5 basic vows are same which have been mentioned by Patanjali, the founder of Yoga Shastra. And the yoga book is so perfect. No one has made any improvement in that one. Only thing is people do all sorts of aerobics and Zumba and all these things. But that's not real yoga as we know it. Yeah. So the question is, which came first? Did the Patanjali wrote these things and formulated and said that these are 5 things you have to follow? Or did Jains say that? Very difficult to say. No one can prove. Again, as I mentioned, different ideologies. and intermingling of people and gradual development. So there are many things which are common in Jainism and Hinduism and Buddhism. Some Buddhist ideas are common. We can explore if we get the chance the differences between these religions. But Jainism is not just five principles. It is, of course, the main five things, five principles. But then, as I said, there are different things. Ahimsa, Satya, Acharya. One example I give you. Again, Jainism goes long way in defining all these things. I've already mentioned Ahimsa, how Ahimsa has been defined by Jains. As per Acharya, non-stealing, what Jains say, do you know that? Jains say that if anything not given to you is as, if you take anything which has not been given to you, is as good as stealing. This is a very minute definition. So if you see something on the footpath, it has not been given to you. So Jain religion says that you cannot take it. Or if you take it, you have to search for its rightful owner. Similarly, non-acquisition. Non-acquisition, when Jains talk about non-acquisition, not just material acquisition. Our ego is our acquisition. Get rid of it. Our rag and dvesh, attachment and illusion, aversion, these are also wrong. So Jainism has thought about everything in great details, not just food and everything. People say that Jainism is very strict, because Jains have thought about very small things and taken further and further as far as logic goes. The philosophy of Ahimsa is also like that. So friends, I've mentioned this basically what the history is, and of course there are many things in history. We might say that when Oswald's became Oswald's in a town called Oshia in Rajasthan, the learned Jain monk Ratna Sundar Suri converted many Kshatriya into Jainism, and because they are coming from the town Oshia, they are called Oswalds. Those who come from the town of Srimal, called Srimalis. Many people, of course, it's a very long thing which I'm not going to mention. But I went to Jamnagar very recently. I was there last month, about 3 weeks ago. 52 villages and everything where these hostile people went to Africa and came to the UK. And I even went to a place run by Austral Education Board. This is a health farm, naturopathy thing. And I was so pleased. I stayed there for a few days and I was made very welcome there. So, and so that's the history, you know. We can go on talking about the other part as well. Oswald, Srimadis, other things, Dasha and Visa and all that, but we won't go into that. And perhaps uh, we don't want to go that deep in this session. Of course, learned scholar Ajit Bhai will explore in his own way. So thank you very much, all of you. I hope you enjoyed it. And thank you to Sandeep Bhai, Oswald Association, and everyone. Sandeep Bhai.
Yeah. Vinod Bhai, thank you so much. We have a few questions from the fantastic students who are there today.
Mhm.
So Darshnaben is going to start off with answers. If we can keep them brief, and again, we can continue in 2 weeks' time again. But Darshnaben, over to you.
Or if I can even read Darshnaben when you are speaking, yeah? Yeah, let's see. Yeah, go on.
Yeah. So the first question's coming from Rahul Pai, and it says Neminath Bhagwan was Lord Krishna's cousin. So in that time, were the two faiths, Jainism and Hinduism, intertwined?
Right. We go by the books. And as I said, there is no material proof in the sense that, oh, Krishna Bhagwan was using this, Neminath Bhagwan was using this. But our books, our scriptures categorically mention about this Krishna Bhagwan and Neminath Bhagwan, that they were cousins. And if you read the history of this famous place, Sankheshwar, and other places, you will read these stories again and again. Neminath Bhagwan, Krishna Bhagwan, other things, how he was doing it. So, when we say that he was not cousin, I can only say that this has been given in our books, and we go by these books. And these books are perhaps thousands of years ago. These books were written, compiled, or more than 1,000, 2,000 years ago. So we go by that. Yeah.
Okay. So I think that answers probably the second question as well. Also, which came first, or was it born at the same time? Just answered that. Are these faiths, Jainism, Hinduism, interpretations of the same doctrine?
Maybe interpretation of ahimsa. But then everything is so much different. Jain influence on Hinduism was that, especially in Gujarat and Maharashtra and other places, they stopped killing animals. Not all of them, but we know that majority of people in Gujarat are vegetarian, and that is because of the influence of Jainism. Whereas majority of people in Bengal are not vegetarians, Bengal, Calcutta, because there is no influence of Jainism there. So there is an influence of, and mingling of ideas, taking cultural things from each other, as always happened. We Jains have taken so many things from Hinduism, our so many rituals, birth, Nam Padwanu, Faiba, Ne. Even nowadays, this wedding ceremony, of course, there is a Jain wedding ceremony, but we have been influenced by Hindu culture so much that culturally, I emphasize, culturally, we have become Hindus. If I said my name is Vinod, no one would say that, no one can say that either I'm Jain or Hindu, because it has become all one culture, naming, how you behave. We even celebrate Raksha Bandhan, Diwali, and all other things. Of course, Diwali has got separate meaning in Jainism. So there is an influence of each other, and Jain influence is also there on the Hindu religion.
Okay. Darshna?
Yeah. So there was a mention of a book, a brief history. Sonia Ben wants to know if we can get that in English.
That book, Sankshipta Ityas of Jain Dharma, that book I mentioned, it's in Gujarati. Fortunately, you will see it in a Jain e-library. You can download it and of course read it. And as I said, it's so nice book. But for me, I mean, I like it very much. I read it again and again.
Is it in
You
English
might find
or
it heavy going. Yeah.
is it in English?
No, that is in Gujarati. Okay,
Only in
so
Gujarati.
it is in Gujarati. Yeah, and written by Mohanlal Dalichand Desai. And it took him 25 years to write this book. 25 years to write the whole history. Right from pre-Mahavir period to Srimad Rajchandra, to that Gandhiji and Rajchandra and all these things.
Are there any plans to translate this book?
No one has, I mean, as far as I know, no one has done it. I wish it happens. Yeah, it's beautiful book. Yeah.
Okay.
Hmm.
So, Sonia Ben, I hope they answer your questions. Probably not to your satisfaction, but yeah.
Yeah.
Darshna?
Yeah. Next question. Who wrote the Kalpa Sutra?
Yeah. Now, I mentioned one name, Bhadrabahu Swami. He wrote Kalpa Sutra. See, we believe in 45 agams. Agams are our ancient sacred literature, which have been derived from the discourses of Mahavir Swami. These books are called agam. In one of the agam is called Dasa Sruta Skand. And the eighth chapter in that agam, I know it's a little bit complicated, is Kalpa Sutra, our holy book, Kalpa Sutra. That was compiled by Bhadrabahu Swami, a great Acharya who lived 170 years after Mahavir Swami. One more thing to mention about Bhadrabahu Swami is you might have heard Uvasagaram Pasam Pasam Vandami Kammaganam Mukkam, that stotra that has been also composed by Bhadrabahu Swami, same Acharya.
Okay. Final question on the chat is, why are there so many Jain factions? Though, as this does this not erode the fundamental principles of ahimsa?
In one way, it's difficult to answer. There is a saying in a Sanskrit language, Tunde Tunde Matir Bhinna. Everyone thinks in his or her own way and interprets everything in his own way. And my ideas and your ideas are not always the same. And then there comes time that no, you want to go on your own way, as per your own thinking. I want to go on as per my own thinking. And that doesn't happen overnight, Then your followers and my followers, and they think completely differently. And that's how this happens. But this has not happened just in Jainism. In Buddhism, there are dozens of factions. In Christianity, maybe 30, 40 things. It's not just Protestant and Catholics only, but in different countries, different towns, in different areas, how they are practicing in Africa and Greece, Greek Orthodox Church, and all these things. So, unfortunately, ideas differ, interpretations differ, and they start believing in different things and making their own organizations or
Yeah.
groups.
Okay. Final, Darshnaben, any questions?
I had a couple, but not in the chat. These are my questions, sorry. So in the beginning, Vinod Bhai, you said there was a philosophy in place between the Hindus, well, for Hindus first, and then there was another philosophy for Jains. Why was there a need to have a second philosophy?
It's not like a second philosophy or anything. A group of people were believing in yagna, sacrificing another thing and caste systems. But then there was another group. They didn't like this idea. They have got their own ideas, their own philosophy, their own interpretation of everything. So nobody said, these people didn't say that, oh, we are Hindus. And these people didn't say that, oh, we are Jains. These names were formulated long after this thing, you know. Even the word Hinduism, as you know, that's probably was given by Arabs and then English people after the Sindhu River, because they could not pronounce Sindhu S, and they were pronouncing the H, Sindhu, Hindu. So that's how those people living on the eastern side of Sindhu were Sindhu people or Hindu people. Now, so these names even came afterward. Some people say it was Sanatan religion or it was Vedic religion because they believed in the philosophy of Veda and Upanishad. And our philosophy, I'm saying it, our philosophy. We started believing in different things. In Jineshwar Bhagwanta, the one who has conquered all inner passions. So our religion is known as Jainism from Jina. But again, this doesn't happen overnight. You know, it must have taken hundreds of years. Then people always coin the phrase that these are Hindus, these are Jains.
Thank you. And my next question. So you spoke about the sixth phase being a descending phase. People that are doing a lot of religious activities, are they going to suffer? And if so, why or what is the purpose of doing religion now?
Right. Let's put religion on one side for a moment. Acharya Hemchandra and some of the Acharyas have mentioned in their book what will happen in the sixth phase. And if you read that, it makes sense the way this world is going, the war, nuclear things, you know, radiation, pollution, even what artificial intelligence will do to us, we don't know. So without mentioning like artificial intelligence or anything, if you read the description, you will read that what will happen if there is a holocaust, if there is a radiation everywhere, what will happen? There's a vivid description written by Acharya Hemchandra Acharya. Then you start thinking that, oh, this might happen. This might really happen. Because the way everything is going. So that's how it is. It has been described what will happen in the sixth phase. People will be born deformed. They won't live more than 20 years. There will be too much heat. The planet will be so hot during daytime, will be so cold during nighttime, and all this lengthy description. At least it is interesting, and I recommend you. You'll see it in English as well somewhere here.
Thank you.
Okay, right.
That's fine. So, Darshana, if you want to do your closing, just one announcement. So the next class is in 2 weeks' time. Again, Vinod Bhai is kindly agreed to take the class on comparative religion, and we'll be comparing Jainism with other faiths. So Vinod Bhai is in 2 weeks' time, on the 14th of March. So we're going to come to a close. Before Vinod Bhai, you do a final closing prayer, if you don't mind. Darshana, I would like to just say a few words to close.
Yeah. So first of all, I want to say thank you, Vinod Bhai, for giving us such an uplifting learning session today. I feel like I've learned a lot, and I'm hoping a lot of the students on this class will say the same. So thank you. As Sandip Bhai mentioned, our next class is in 2 weeks' time. And we really hope that everyone is enjoying this class and will continue to come along to the next class. next week we've got a book club for anyone that wants to join. Sunday Pai, is the link still open for the book club?
Yes, it is. It's on the Oshawa website. Yes.
Perfect. Winod Pai, if you want to do a closing prayer.
Just a simple one, 2 lines, or Manglik, whatever you.
Anything that.
Okay. Chattari Mangalam, Arihanta Mangalam, Siddha Mangalam, Sahu Mangalam, Kevali Pannattu Dhammo Mangalam, Chattari Loguttama, Arihanta Loguttama, Siddha Loguttama, Sahu Loguttama, Kevali Pannattu Dhammo Loguttamo, Chattari Saranam Pavajjami, Arhante Saranam Pavajjami, Siddhe Saranam Pavajjami, Sadhu Saranam Pavajjami, Kevali Pannattam Dhammam Saranam Pavajjami. भूल चूक थी हुआ इच्छामि दुक्कड़म. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.